Hey guys, it's Sage, and I thought I'd give you all a quick profile of the Madolche deck that I'm currently running, and it's interesting enough that I actually ran the same deck in my regionals yesterday, and although I did not top, or even get top 32 for that matter, I did pretty decent, or at least a lot better than I thought I would do going in there with Madolches. And got a lot of compliments on it, so I figured I'd share with you guys. And it also should be noted that this is before Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, the booster set, has come out, so cards like Madolche Hootcakes and Madolche Knights are not yet released in TCG, but be assured that Madolche Hootcakes, at the very least, will be added to this build somehow, along with a few other revisions as well. And also, the full deck list will be in the video description. Got any thoughts, suggestions on the deck? Be sure to leave me a comment in the comment section, but this is pretty complete from what I can gather. So without further ado, let's just get started. First off, since we're in Madolche, 3 Madolche Mageleine. A lot of people call this the Stardust of the deck, which is pretty true to an extent because it is the search engine. When you normal summon it, you get to add a Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. I should also preface that every Madolche monster, except for Tiaramisu, has the same effect wherein when it's destroyed by your opponent, either by card effect or by battle, you have to send it to your deck, and if you have Madolche Chateau out, you get to add that monster to your hand, or whether you have the option to. You can't just not add it if you wouldn't like as well. Next up, we have 2 Madolche Messengelato. Madolche Messengelato, when it's special summoned and you have a beast on the field, you get to add 1 Madolche spell or trap to your hand, ideally Ticket or Chateau, sometimes even Madolchepalooza. And one of those beasts is Madolche Mewfeuille. When Mewfeuille is normal summon, it's like a Marauding Captain, or half of one, where you get to special summon a Madolche monster from your hand. Ideally, you normal summon Mewfeuille and special summon a Madolche Messengelato and get that quick Ticket or quick Chateau. Really, really good. Next up, we have 3 Madolche Cruffssant, another Madolche beast. Really good for playing Messengelato plays if you special summon while he's on the field. He gets to bounce back 1 Madolche card on the field and gain 1 level. Really good for messing around with levels, going into Exceeds, and you get to bounce back either Madolche spells if you choose, which helps you from minusing, because you really don't want that. Really like the card, and it also gains a level when you bounce that card, and it gains 300 attack, so pretty good for an attack boost as well. Next up, this card might as well be considered a tech choice because of how little people run this in Madolche builds, but I'm running 2 Madolche Chouvalier, or Chouvalier as some people pronounce it. Chouvalier does is like the other half of the Marauding Captain. Remember how they said Mewfeuille was one half? Well, this is the other. And while it's on the field and you have other Madolche monsters, your opponent can only target this one for attack. So it's pretty useful in that. But honestly, I don't really utilize that effect as much. The main thing I'm concerned about is that it's a level 4 warrior, which helps me with a few, really 2 Exceeds plays. Next up, the next quote-unquote tech choice for Madolche is Madolche Puddingcess. Of course, I call it tech mockingly because not a lot of people run it. But what Madolche Puddingcess does is that if you have an empty grave, as in empty in terms of monsters, no monsters in your grave, she gains 800 attack and defense, and when she battles an opponent's monster afterwards, you can target 1 card on your opponent's side of the field and destroy it. But what's really interesting about Puddingcess, I know she's level 5 and only has 1000 attack, potentially in some situations, but she's a fairy type, and that really helps for Madolche Ticket plays, as I'll explain here in a little bit. Next set of monsters is non-Madolche monsters, so let's get to that. 2 Thunder King Rai-Oh, just because Thunder King. 1 Treg, tried to, didn't like it as much, so I just keep it at 1, just keep it real. And 1 Malefic Stardust Dragon, because I am running the Stardust Dragon in my extra deck, and ideally I will probably always have Madolche Chateau on the field. Again, ideally. Plus helps me protect my field spell, and allows me to get a quick beater out there. And your opponent usually doesn't see that coming. That does it for the monster lineup. Next up, we have spells and traps, starting with spells. 3 Madolche Chateau. Madolche Chateau is on the field. It's really essential. You send every Madolche card in your graveyard to the deck. That's really something important that people should pay in mind. And all Madolches get plus 500 attack and defense. And when a Madolche card will be sent to the deck, you can add it to your hand instead. Really, really good. Essential at 3. Next, 2 Madolche Ticket. A lot of people run this at 3. I really, really like it at 2 better. When Madolche gets added to your deck or your hand by a card effect, you can search your deck for a Madolche monster and add it to your hand. What's really good about it, though, is the other half is that if you have not a Madolche fairy, but any fairy type monster on the field when you activate this effect, you can special summon the monster you just searched for. And earlier I said Madolche Puddingcess is a fairy type. That's one of the reasons I like running it, because sometimes I can get a quick extra plus by having her on the field and searching with the Ticket. Her and Tiramisu will really help Ticket get to be really fast and just speeds up the deck. Really good at 2, wouldn't run 3, kind of clogs the hand though. After this, it's mainly just kind of staple stuff. We have 2 Pot of Duality. When you have a bad hand in Madolche, it usually stays a bad hand, and to avoid that and have a variety of options, you really want to run 2 Pot of Duality. The lack of the special summon won't really slow you down that much, especially if you're opening up with, say, like a Mageleine and like no Mewfeuille, so don't worry about it too much. Next up, just 2 MST, 2 is enough, I don't need 3. And next is just standard stuff like Hole, Storm, and Reborn. Not too much to say about that. A lot of people aren't running Monster Reborn in this deck, with the argument saying that you really don't want to have monsters in your graveyard. But that's only ideally if you want to rely on Puddingcess, Madolche Lesson, and soon-to-be Madolche Night plays, where you really need to restrict yourself to having an empty grave. That's why a lot of people don't run non-Madolche cards in Madolche decks. But the thing is, sometimes eventually that will just happen, and you won't have any control over whether it does happen because you'll be in that situation. And honestly, that's also the reason, I don't have any fears running Thunder King and Shrag and Malefic Stardust, because I just like having Monster Reborn. And even if you can't summon a monster from your graveyard, you can always just grab quick level 4 from your opponent's graveyard and go into a quick Xyz. So that's it for spells. Going on to traps. Or Madolchepalooza. It's not always your win condition, but it really can be helpful. When you activate Madolchepalooza, you special summon all Madolche monsters in your hand that you can, and at the end of the turn they go back to the deck. Or back to your hand if you choose so with Madolche Chateau. And usually they do not remain on the field when you're done with them, and the reason for that is that once you activate Madolchepalooza, ideally you'll go into a lot of Xyz plays, like say Tiramisu if you can, try to get as much damage in as you can, then main phase 2 Xyz, or just do that stuff beforehand in the battle phase to get over potential spell or traps. Really good card. I only keep it at 1 though, because it's not always the best thing unless you have like a really big hand to unload on your opponent with. Next up, 2 Compulse, 2 Fiendish Chain, a lot of the stuff is just standard here on out, 2 Deep Prison, 2 Bottomless, 1 Starlight Road because I run the Stardust Dragon in the extra deck, and 1 Ultimate Offering. And if you don't know about Madolches, if you run them or not, Madolche Mageleine and Ultimate Offering are pretty much your win conditions. Normal summon Mageleine, add the second Mageleine to your hand. Normal summon the second Mageleine by paying Ultimate Offering costs, so 500 life points. Then search for the third Mageleine, summon it, and search for 1 more Madolche card. Usually at that point, it really doesn't matter, because unless your opponent can get over it, it's game, really. And that's it for the main deck, and here's the extra deck coming right up. And 2 Madolche Queen Tiramisu, pretty much the boss monster you could call her of the Madolche build. She's rank 4, you need 2 Madolche monsters to summon her, and once per turn you can detach 1 Xyz material and send up to 2 Madolche, target 2 Madolche cards in your graveyard, send them to your deck, which can be sent to your hand if you got a Chateau on the field. And what that allows you to do is send up to 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field back to the deck. And what really makes this amazing even further is that that effect of sending cards to the deck does not target. In that respect, it's like Trishula, which is really, really, really good. In respect to Madolches, I think Queen Tiramisu is one of the best Xyz monsters out there, to be honest. And again, it is a fairy type, and that really helps for Madolche Ticket plays and letting you get an extra special summon when you search for a monster with Ticket. Really good. Up next after that, we have Fairy King Albverdich. What Albverdich does when you detach 1 Xyz material, all non-earth monsters lose 500 attack and defense, and not pretty much, but every single Madolche monster is an earth attribute monster, so that really helps, and you usually benefit from that a lot. Next up, I'm going to put these in pairs for the reason I run 2 Chevalier, and that is 1 Heroic Champion Excalibur, 1 Blade Armor Ninja. You need warrior monsters to go into these rank 4s, and a lot of times it's usually, swing for game or just do a lot of damage, get over big monsters in the case for Excalibur, and honestly, I really like them. That's why 2 Chevalier, just so I can go into these, and maybe that's too much of a priority, but, you know, it's just good to go into. Maestroke, that's almost a staple, it's really, really good. Abyss Dweller, that helps you get over a lot of stuff in grave. It's got a first effect, but I hardly ever read it, let alone apply it. And when you detach 1 Xyz material, you negate effects of monsters in grave. Usually that stops Vayu plays and Black Wings, stops Mermails. Really, really good. I like it. Next up, number 50, Blackship of Corn. Y'all know what this does. Detach 1 to send 1 card your opponent controls that has less attached to the grave. And your opponent loses 1,000. Again, destroys and doesn't send to the grave, so really good sentence clause for getting over effects. Next, Shockmaster, Need I Say More, just to help you finish off your opponent if you just have the zeal to do so, because you could just call traps. If you want to get over and swing for game, you can call monsters to get over hand traps if your opponent has like an empty field and you're kind of suspicious. Really, really good. Love it. Next up, we have 1 Utopia, just because why not? I was thinking about Gem Knight Pearl, but then again, sometimes I like the extra negation of attack, but then again, I still don't go into it that much. Next, going backwards from rank 4s to rank 3s, we have 1 Wind-Up Zenmaines for stall and a good effect. Soul of the Silver Mountain, when you detach 1 Xyz material, you get to target 1 face down your opponent controls, face down spell or trap, and your opponent cannot activate that this turn. Really, really, really good. And you can also, if you destroy a monster, you get to special summon an earth monster from your graveyard into the field in face-up defense position. Revolves earn a lot of earths, as you can see. Next, 1 Giga-Brilliant to give an extra boost of attack to my full field of stuff. And 1 Leviathan to finish off the Xyz monsters. Then, of course, the 1 Stardust Dragon, because of Starlight Road and Malefic Stardust Dragon. Next off, moving on to the extra deck, I run a few hand traps, but that's only because I kind of like them, and they actually saved my butt in a few matches, and they're going to be a lot more viable when Tachyon Galaxy comes out. 2 Veiler, 2 Battle Fader, really good because it banishes itself afterward. 1 Neospatian Grand Mole, really, really good. Just 1 Book of Moon, that does it for the spell lineup. 1 Warning and Judgment. I don't like paying life points to negate a lot of stuff, so I don't run it. 1 Royal Tribute. A lot of people make this mistake sometimes, that when you destroy your own stuff with Royal Tribute, you don't get the Madolche card effects. That's only if your opponent does it. So that's it for that. 1 Goes in Mitch, because everything you're running is Earth pretty much. 1 Mirror Force. A second Madolchepalooza. This is kind of my tech choice, but 1 Fairy Box. I used to run an Ordeal of a Traveler, but I like Fairy Box a lot better. It surprises your opponent. Really, really good. And last but not least, 1 Levier to get over Macro, and 1 Steel Swarm Roach for Chaos Dragons. Thanks you guys so much for watching this deck profile. It is 41 cards in the main deck, 15 in the extra, 15 in the side. So if you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button, and if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, be sure to hit the subscribe button for more stuff like it in the future. Anyway guys, I'm Sage, thank you for watching, I will see you guys later. But wait, there's more! I actually, forgot to mention that at the moment, I'm not running an MX Saber Invoker. It's a $40 or so card right now. I can actually get around that, but I'm not getting that at the moment because the, Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy isn't out yet. And once it does come out, it'll be killer, absolutely fantastic with the card Madolche Hootcakes, but until then, it's really not an essential. I figured I should add that at the end right there, because I know someone's going to bring up Invoker. Thanks for watching. Again, bye.